Treasury Secretary Geithner today asked Congress for unprecedented power during an unprecedented crisis. And it's our top story now at the bottom of the hour. Tim Geithner asking lawmakers for authority to take control and run some of America's financial giants. Again, for the government to control private business before a company might collapse. The Treasury Secretary says it's basically an effort to regulate the institutions that really could drag down the entire economy, in fact the whole world potentially, if they failed. Geithner says it was a lack of regulation and institutional control that got us into this mess in the first place.
Our regulatory system was not equipped to prevent the buildup of dangerous levels of risk. Compensation practice rewarded short-term profits over long-term financial stability, overwhelming the checks and balances in the system. We came into this crisis as a country, and this is a tragic thing. We came into this crisis without the authority and the tools necessary to contain the damage to the American economy.
Of course, you have to forget for a moment that we changed all the rules over the past decade and a half to get us to this place. But that said, they have been changed. The authority for which Geithner is now asking includes being able to take over a company's bad loans and sell the good ones to competitors. The only agency with that kind of power, really, is the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which, of course, insures our money in the bank. And technically, that's insurance money from the banks, but in the end, if they ever failed or FDIC got in trouble, we the people would pay for that too. Joining us now is Jeff DeGraff. He's an economist with the International Strategy and Investment Group, which is a macro research institute. And for all the fans of Institutional Investor Magazine, Jeff is ranked the top analyst in his field. They want a lot of power. Republicans see it as a power grab. Geithner sees it as the only way to stop this sort of thing from happening again. And purely from a technical standpoint, you see it as?
Well, I think what you really need is a clear roadmap in which you have to go through and liquidate these businesses. So it's not about...
Wait, isn't there a bankruptcy for that?
Well, you would think, right? But I mean, we're talking about AIG still has shareholders. You're still talking about 20% still held by shareholders. The debt holders have not been liquidated. That's exactly what needs to happen here, not necessarily more oversight. I mean, oversight's what got us into this in the first place. I categorically disagree with Geithner on that. Regulation is not what it's all about here.
Of course, we changed the rules with lobbyists putting pressure on Congress, some of them former congressmen, over the past 15 or more years, which got us to this place. That said, we're here. So now they have to unwind this thing. If not giving him control, which would have to come from the Congress, then what do you do at this point?
Well, if you give him control, what you're really doing is you're allowing the administration to gain control.
The government then runs private business.
Well, correct, and the FDIC is a little different in the way that that's structured as a separate entity and a separate corporation. If it's something along those lines, a special unit like the RTC. Maybe
Regulatory Trade Commission?
Regulatory Resolution Trust.
Resolution Trust Corporation,
from the S&Ls. Something along those lines to liquidate, absolutely, I think that needs to be done. But we need to understand that if you're a shareholder, you take the first hit, and that has to be done. If you're a bondholder, you take the second hit. There's a capital structure, and that's why that capital structure is in place.
But we've abandoned that,
We've abandoned it.
I mean, we haven't abandoned it for all, but we've abandoned it for those whom the government has deemed too big to fail. Now, you mentioned the FDIC. That's what insures our deposits. Remember, it used to be for a lesser amount, but now it's for a couple $100,000 or so. The way that works is the banks pay insurance to the FDIC. And from the insurance money, the FDIC goes in and takes over banks that, for all intents and purposes, fail. But the truth is, if they run out of money at the FDIC is really part of the Treasury, so they'd be able to get more money. So what you're saying is something like the FDIC, which would be protection for business in the way we have protection for banks.
Exactly, and go through the orderly liquidation. And some of these are timing issues. I don't think all of them are timing issues, but some of them are timing issues. And if we can extend the timing and sell those off in a normal fashion, then I think we're in better shape. But giving power to the Treasury, I don't think is the right answer to this.
Is it your sense that that's what's going to happen, though?
I think it is. I think there's a huge pocket.
And is it just a political power grab?
I think so. You've got populism right now, which is running rampant, and I think that's absolutely what's happening.
And in Congress, they're playing right off it. They're making the center of our universe these bonuses. Not that there's not something really gross about taking bonuses under this circumstance. There is. We're going to talk more with Judge Napolitano about this in a minute. But to try to run private companies' business from the government is not the It's not the foundation of our system.
It's not. You're gonna end up with good people leaving, or they'll end up consulting. Why not just consult for the same amount of money and I'm not an employee anymore?
Oh, consulting sounds like such a wonderful thing. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming.